What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my garage, and on this episode we'll be installing this gauge pod into your center console on a 79 to 86 Mustang Fox body. We're putting in water temperature and oil pressure gauges to keep a good eye on this. So we'll go right here, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're heading out to Summit. I'm going to pick up some gauges. We're going to go with some Sport Comp. Just some pretty cheap gauges. They're on sale right now, and I just need really something just to help gauge accuracy, no pun, of my, you know, the engine temperature and oil pressure. Because I know these gauges fluctuate. Mine definitely fluctuate. They go from, I don't know, a normal, and then everything, all the gauges creep up. So there's a resistance issue within the stock gauge cluster. They're notorious for that, and they're notorious for reading off. Not to mention, you don't get an accurate reading really on the actual numbers. I like numbers, like actual numbers. I like to say that my car runs at 200 degrees or 180 degrees, 190 degrees consistently. I don't have the number. You know, you've got cold and hot, and normal in between is what Ford considers to be normal operating temperature. It could be who knows what. That whole range just could be 180 to 200, 205. So these guys are going to give me accurate reading. So I also bumped the timing up to my car to about 15 degrees. This car responds really, really well to timing. Yes, it does. Gosh, she's running good. She is strong. Traction's good. I got the bump. I don't know if you guys remember, I had a nice amount of clunk on the back end. That's gone. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm going to head to Summit, pick up these gauges because they're on sale. Give me an excuse to get it. I think they're like $67 right now for an electric, water, and an oil tank gauge. 60 each, 67 and $17 each. So let's stick it on the card and we'll install it. So we'll see you guys in a bit. This car is so much fun to drive. I just cannot tell you guys. If you've never driven a Fox body, you should. I've said that before. Especially one that's got some of the parts on we got now. You know, this thing could handle better. I want to work on that. I want to get the handling really tight on this car. It's already good. You know, it's a light car. Really short wheelbase, so it's got a nice turning radius on it, and really quick steering responsibility. That, you give it the horsepower to torque ratio, and it's just a blast. Blast around it. I need new seatbelts. LMR, you listening? Seatbelts. Alright! I think it's gonna win this Summit, I love you! Let's see what kind of skills you got. What's your play? I'd like to put a 5-liter in a Ranger one day. That is on my bucket list. Not quite like that. That's a clean one though. Alright. Got them. Nothing's too spectacular. Just got the Sport Comps. We got 2 of them. Of course, the auto oil and water. So these will both, I think, match the stock gauges really well. It's got a half sweep or quarter sweep instead of a full sweep, and the black gauge with the orange needle. Simple, old school, and we'll keep the stock gauge cluster looking right at home with those gauges. Go home and install them. Gonna stop QT, get lunch, keto style. The lunch of champions. So this is a gauge panel that they sell from LMR that goes into the spot where your information center currently is on your 79 to 86 Mustang. This is where the you know, where your fuel light is and your warning lights, and also your date and time. And this gives you a good option to put installing gauges onto the car without having to, I guess, you know, hack it up or even alter your existing gauge cluster. So I went with this simply so I can put the information center back in if I ever wanted to, or if I ever switched out the whole gauge cluster. I really like the digital Dakota gauges. Those are a little out of my price range, and to be quite honest, I have to get better readings on the oil and water temperature, so that is what I'm putting in here. I know that the pod on the pillar pod will be housing the boost gauge, and will be housing the wide fuel. It's already got the the wideband air fuel, excuse me. It's already got the wideband air fuel in it now, and it'll have the boost gauge in it. And this will give me accurate readings on my oil and water temperature, which to me is absolutely critical since the stock gauges are not all that accurate. So this is a piece you can get from LMR. It's a good piece. I purchased it some time back with intentions of doing this, and yeah. First thing I'm going to do is get the center console out. Show you guys where it's going to go. Okay, so this is where it goes in your 7986 Mustang. It simply goes in place of the panel now that is housing your date and clock, and also your information panel that shows your low fuel light and whenever your lights are out. I actually think this is really cool. I think it's super rad. I'm not going to lie. I like it because it just dates the car so much. It shows you how far we've come in vehicles. Those little red LEDs that light up when something's wrong. So it is cool, and I'll be honest, I hate getting rid of this. I'm going to keep it with all full intentions of putting this back in if I ever go with Dakota Digitals. So right now I really just need a good spot to put my oil and temp gauges in. I really don't want to hack anything up on the car. I don't want to hack the stock gauges up, because I do like the stock look of the car. As much as I've gone away from stock in this car, I still want to get in it and be reminded that I'm sitting in an 86 and not a, you know, at 2018 in an 86 body or something. So anyways, so that's where that's going to go. It's going to go here. You know, I've got the gauge pod here that's housing my air fuel wideband, and I'm going to be putting the boost gauge here when we get the turbo. The gauges I ended up going with, I chose mainly because they're going to match the stock ones quite well. These are just AutoMeter Sport Comp, and they are a quarter sweep or short sweep gauges, and they are electronic, so they do come with your sending units, and they do have backlit light bulbs, and actually come with diffusers on it. So if you want to go with a red bulb or a green bulb, you can. It comes with a red and green diffuser, so it's nothing fancy. It's not LED. Really nothing to these gauges, and again, I like the look of them simply because I think they're going to match the stock ones really well, and it matches the look of the car. Anything too ultra modern in this car is just a little bit overkill. So other than the silver housings, we've got orange needles, white lettering, and black background, so I think it's going to look quite well. Okay, forgive the fan, guys. Hopefully you can hear me well enough, because it's nice and loud, but it is hot in here. So we simply are going to be taking out the electronics here. Start by taking the screw off the top. Okay, you get the electronics out of here. You want to take this top screw off and don't lose it. And there'll be some screws on the back here. There's one, if you can see it, hopefully. There's one here. There's one there. And there's one here on the other corner as well. So you want to take all three of these screws plus the top one on top off, as well as these two screws here holding this bracket in for your wiring. So really just want to start taking these screws off and yeah, get everything put aside. Okay, so now I've gotten these two off. Now unfortunately this took barely any twisting, and it did twist off, so that stinks. You gotta be careful with this old plastic, guys. It is old, obviously. We also want to make sure we remove this one right up here. And there you go. Okay, so that takes everything out. One of these harnesses we do want to keep, which is right here. This is going to go to your cigarette lighter. If you do use this to charge your phone and whatnot, you probably want to make sure you keep this one. You can separate the wires and then put it into, you know, follow it down. Basically, it's going to be off of this plug right here. So if you want to keep this plug, unplug these, unplug it from this center. Keep this one plugged in. That way it gives you access to your cigarette lighter still, so you can have power to it. Or you can run separate wires if you want to do that. But like I said, I want to keep everything intact in case I want to put this back together one day. And Yeah, so I'm going to make sure I keep the harness in the car with it, and then keep this guy plugged into where it should be. Okay, I know this looks kind of like a mess here, but if you get this harness out, this is the harness that I want to keep right here. This harness has the cigarette lighter, and it's got the connections to these right here. Now, if you don't know what these are actually LED bulbs. This is pretty slick for 1986, right? That shines right into this plastic here, and actually kind of made this plastic glow at night. So if you notice at nighttime, this does light up, and it's supposed to make, you know, the letters kind of pop from the outside whenever your headlights runs. But what you want to do without removing or damaging these guys, because like I said, I want to keep it, what you do is take them and pinch them, and they'll pop out like this. Like that. Now you've got your separate harness. Just like this. Now if you take this harness and go ahead and plug it in, it goes on this one right here. What you'll notice is when you turn the headlights on, these light up. So guys, what this is going to give us without having to hack up the wiring is a good spot to put the bulbs, the wire in the headlight bulbs. So this will also work and give us power into the bulbs in the back if we want it to. So that's kind of cool. And they dim. So notice how when I change this, those dim down as well. So what that gives us is a nice spot for us to put the gauge bulbs connections into. So we can connect them into that wiring harness and have dimming capability in our new gauges. That's pretty cool. Yes, me. Okay, and while we're at it down here, I went ahead and looked for a power source, and it turns out that on this connector here, with the key on, we've got a ground and a blue and white cable that was going to the information center that is giving me 12 volts with the key on. And as soon as I turn the key off, you can see that we are down to 0. So that is kind of cool. So I've identified a good spot to power our gauges off of these two wires here, and I found some good spot to power up our lights here. So okay, we have identified the wires that we're going to be able to use to wire up this thing. Now you can go ahead and take the old one off. Good time to go ahead and get yourself a rag and clean out this nastiness, but you can definitely see how this is going to look once it's in, so that it's going to look nice and clean. Okay, so I'm going to do some wiring out here. I had a nice little rain shower come in. Now it's sunny, of course, but this is how I've wired them. You want to wire these things in series, so you can basically wire one gauge and then just loop everything over to the other gauge. And this is just how I've wired everything. Is heat shrunk and soldered like it should be. We've got the lights going into white. We've got the ground in black on both sides. We've got the connectors hooked up, and we've got the power wire going in to the harness here. So everything on this side of it is definitely heat shrunk, soldered and crimped, so this is not going to go anywhere. I know all these connections are super going to be super safe in here. They're going to be super strong. But on the harness end, I went ahead and used taps on it. And this way I can remove it later if I want to. So if I ever decide that I want to put everything back to normal, I can. These are strong, they're in. So anyways, as you can see here, I've identified these wires already. The light blue and black here is what's going to the lights. That's going to this pin right there. I know it's hard to see in this, guys. So the light blue and black wire is going to my white wire, which is feeding the lights and the dimmer for the lights. And then we've got the ground wire going to black. And we have the power wire, which I've identified here as the white with the blue stripe on this guy. So I've now got power, ground, and light dimmer and capability. So lights will come on with the light switch hooked into my gauges. Now all we have to do is run the 2 signal and hook up the sensors in the engine compartment. Okay, now to the sending units. This is going to be probably the most time consuming part, I guess, just depending on how you go about doing this. But over here we've got the water temp sending unit, simply just a temperature probe. And over here you've got your oil pressure sending unit, which is similar to stock, but it runs, from my understanding, at a different ohm. So not that hard. We're simply going to replace the stock one, which is right here. Can't see it. And what I've done is made a little bit of room in the engine bay. I've moved the distributor cap up and over. I'm going to actually take these out and go ahead and remove the lower distributor cap as well, just kind of get it out of the way and give me a little bit more room to get to the sending unit here. Now, I've looked in to see if I can use the existing wire. You can use existing wire as long as you disconnect it from where it's going to the gauge and run it. So you can do that way you don't have to run a new wire. You can disconnect it from the back of your gauge cluster, or cut it from the back of the gauge cluster and run that wire from there to your new unit with the new sending unit in here. And you can do the same as for the oil pressure sending unit. You can use existing wire, put the AutoMeter sending unit in, and then use that wire. I'm not going to do that just because, again, I don't want to cut up the harness, and I don't want to. Well, I mean, I just don't want to mess up the harness, and tracing it's going to be kind of a pain, especially pulling the stock cluster out and looking for that wire and all that stuff. And they're hard to find, you know. So I'm going to run 2 new wires, and then we're going to have to replace both of these senders with the AutoMeter ones. Unfortunately, that leaves us with 2 dead gauges in the cluster. And you guys tell me, I've looked this up, that those run at different ohms, and you cannot do that. I was hoping to actually tee off this wire and then run both of them so both gauges work. That was the plan. I've looked into it, and apparently that's not going to work. I have to run the AutoMeter sending unit, so that's what we'll do. And I want to keep the wires intact, so if I have to go back and do it again and tap it in to the existing one, or we can get the other ones working, we can do that as well. Okay, so the stock sending unit is 11/16, and again, this is the temperature sending unit, guys. This is going right into a coolant passage. So I'll loosen it ever so slightly here. Alright, hey, expecting coolant, but it wasn't there. Good deal. Okay, the AutoMeter sending unit is a 3/4. Should probably clean. Oh, let me get some. Let me get a rag here. Come on, girl. Trying to get this thing started with my hands. There we go. You don't want to cross thread that aluminum, of course. Nice and tight, no leaks. Okay. Okay, sorry about the weird camera angle here on the oil pressure sending unit, but it is right here, and there's a T coming out, actually a log coming out of the side of the block, where this is tapped into and screwed into. So you'll be tempted to go ahead and just take it and spin it. You're thinking, oh, look at this, it's just coming right out. But it's not. This thing is going to spin at its base right here, and you're going to have to get a wrench down in there and get into it. Looks just like this on this side down, and yeah. Going to be fun. So we're going to have to get a wrench down there and see if we get enough leverage to pop it off. Okay, and get ready to have some fun here. This is a 9/16 wrench, same that fits the AutoMeter. You want to find a way to hopefully get back there. And this is hitting my clutch cable. Alright. And then hopefully get enough leverage. Spin it out. Okay, not too bad. Could have been a lot worse, but I guarantee you guys, with more stuff around here, I'm gonna have a heck of a time getting that out, but otherwise it's that easy. Okay, and we're gonna have to use the adapter for this one as well, which is right here. So again, a little bit of Teflon tape. Okay, we're gonna need 2 9/16 wrenches. That is tight as can be, man. It's not going anywhere. Now, put Teflon tape on this, put it in the engine. Okay, hopefully you can hear me okay out of this fan here, but I went ahead and taken 2 black wires, made them nice and long here, and I've painted one end of it white so I can differentiate the 2. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the vise and twist them together. I hate running new wires underneath here, especially I took all that time wire tucking, but it is what it is. I've got to get power to them, so I'm going to do the best I can to hide them and make sure you don't see them. So there we go. So now I got a twisted wire. We're going to run it through the firewall. The white one is going to be for oil. The black one is going to be for water temp. Okay, so I've managed to fish down in the crevice of the fuel rail and the upper intake manifold, the wire pair, yay, and it's going through the same grommet I've got back here for the wideband O2 sensor. So it's about as hidden as it's going to get. I got quite a bit of it pulled out here, more than I need. I'll be able to cut it, and we'll put the connectors on. And I got plenty of room underneath the dash to hook this stuff up. So I'm going to put the O-rings, get it going. Okay, so I've gotten the wires done. I've gotten the sending unit installed. Got everything kind of tucked back the way it should be. You can't even see the wires, which is good. It's no more wires that I could see than there's already there. There's already enough there as there is. And I've got the sending wire unit in place here. It's obviously way too long, but that gives us plenty to tuck it back. I've got the connectors on, and of course they're marked. So white is going to be oil, and the black one's going to be temp. So now we just got to put everything back together. But before we do that, we got to actually mount this thing here. So this has to go on and actually screw in. So you'll notice that it's got a blank spot there, and I'm hoping I can find the installation kit so that we can actually finish this install. So I gotta look for that. It should come with hopefully some cage nuts or something similar. Hey, like this. Yeah, so ideally it looks like it comes with 3 screws and some nuts to put on the back side. I wish they were the kind that clamped over the plastic, because now every time you unscrew this, it literally is going to just kind of fall out. But that's okay. We can put it in place now, make it a permanent structure. Just we'll have to get under there, plug in the sending unit, and then put the whole center console in. So yeah, let's get to it. I keep saying that. Okay, looking at the back side of this, this kit is actually really simple here. You've got 3 mount points. You've got one on this side, one on this side, and one on the top, and it comes with these little things here. So all we are going to do is really simply push it back into place, stick this in, and just kind of get these started like so. And I'm not going to over tighten these. There's no need to use a pair of pliers on the back side of this. All we're doing is putting pressure on, and that's it. And it's not going anywhere. The panel's in place. Okay, before I go too much farther, I'm going to go ahead, plug it in, make sure that it works before I button it all down. So if everything works, all I have to do is plug in this one connector to the factory harness. And it's nice and dark in here. Let's go ahead and turn on the headlights. Okay, and I've got lights down there. That's good. And they dim. There we go. Alright, cool deal. Everything works as planned. And the lights come on and off with the headlights. So everything works as designed. Now it does think we've got 2 dead gauges here. and there, but it doesn't really matter. I've got much more accurate gauges down here, and that is good. Cool. So it is getting dark. I'm gonna try to button this thing up and go for a test drive before it gets too dark. Okay guys, so that is the water temp and oil pressure gauge AutoMeter install with the LMR center console pod, or panel, I guess you can call it. So that is it. I really like it. I think it turned out really good. One thing I do want to probably add is some brighter lights to it, probably some LEDs. The red diffuser just diffuses too much on the incandescent bulbs, and realistically they aren't quite bright enough. In fact, the stock gauges I think are a little bit brighter. So I'll probably put some red LEDs in there to kind of brighten up a little bit, but the red will make it match. So that is cool. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It's going to give me a number, accurate numbers on what my temperature and oil pressure readout is. And I think my car is getting a little hotter than it should be. I did find out yesterday that the fan was kicking on a little bit too late, around 200 degrees. So I was able to adjust that now that I got the gauge. That's cool, right? Alright, so hey, look, notice I got caps on my T-tops. That's cool, right? So that kind of completed my T-top install also. They look pretty good, and these are really nice pieces. They came color matched gray. I didn't have to paint them. They're really tough plastic. So, and it made the interior really look a lot better, and it really kind of just spiffied up. Okay, so that concludes this video of the AutoMeter water temp and oil pressure gauge install, and also the LMR gauge panel we put into the center console. So that is good. I want to get ready for TMI. That's next weekend with the car cleaned up. Get it ready. Those gauges are going to be super helpful, especially on that trip down south to Ennis. So I want to make sure that I got an eye on everything, and that's why I did this before the trip next weekend. So guys, make sure to follow me on Instagram. It's House of Doula on Instagram, and follow me and subscribe. That way you get notifications on any updates that we're doing on the channel before I put them out, publish them. So you get a little bit of heads up on what I'm working on before they go live and go out to you guys, my awesome viewers. So listen to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.